I'm Erin Ferranti, Board President for PCNA, and I'd like to welcome you to this episode of the Heart to Heart Nurses Podcast. PCNA is the proud home of cardiovascular nurses and one of the leading figures in the fight against cardiovascular disease. We have the resources you need for your day-to-day practice or to follow your passion to new areas of learning and growth.
Welcome to today's episode. We are going to be doing things slightly differently than we usually do in these episodes. We actually have 3 guests with us today, and as you can see, we have 3 chairs. So we are going to be doing this in 2 shifts. So we're going to take a break in the middle, and you'll get to meet the rest of our great individuals that are our guests today after the break. But right now, I'd like to introduce our current guests. So David, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is David de Santiago. I am one of the founding members for the Southern Nevada chapter of PCNA. I work at a local hospital in Las Vegas, Nevada. I work in their cardiac med-surg floor. I've been there for about 3 years, where I pretty much initially started as a nurse extern on their pulmonary unit, but then I kind of made my way into the cardiac world, and well, that's where I've been.
Well, fabulous. Kay, how about you?
I didn't know yet. You worked in the pulmonary unit?
Yes, I was an MPU. That's where I began.
My name's Kate, and I work at a hospital in Las Vegas as well. I'm currently a quality coordinator, and back then when we founded the Southern Nevada chapter, I was the educator at his facility. That's why I was very surprised to learn that. Yeah, I didn't know that.
That's awesome. The thing about having a chapter is that you do get to know a lot about people. Apparently not everything all at once, and that's totally all right. But for our audience that doesn't know this, the Southern Nevada chapter just won the PCNA Chapter Award, and so that's why we are so excited to have them all here and to share their experience of what it's like to have a chapter. I know that many people that are listening or watching this may not know what a PCNA chapter is. So David, do you want to tell us what you do as a chapter?
Absolutely. So our founding president, who unfortunately isn't here at the moment, Giselle, we love you, hearts. She approached us individually, was like, hey, I have an idea. And she was like, okay, what kind of idea do you have? She's like, let's start a chapter here in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas didn't have a chapter. The closest thing to Las Vegas was either California, which I think has a few chapters, and Arizona, which I believe Arizona is here today as well. And so she was like, you know what, let's give this a go. And I was like, sure, why not? You know, I didn't know what I was walking into. So I think anybody can agree we didn't know what we were walking into.
I kind of knew.
Oh, well, you kind of
I asked her and another one of our members to create a presentation to show me what was going to be happening and what was required and what time was going to be required of me.
Oh, well, I didn't get that.
And I was going to say that is a really important factor for those of you that are thinking about starting a chapter, that there is a time commitment. It's not a full-time job, although it might feel like that when you're putting together a chapter program.
Correct.
But really, you have to provide some commitment from your community. We don't want you to be unsuccessful, so
Correct.
we want you to have the support that you need and the audience in your area. So that's
Absolutely.
why there was a little bit of paperwork, a little bit of coercing. I mean, whatever it was that had to happen to get you to volunteer
Definitely
to help.
coercing. Like, hey, this is great for your resume.
Exactly. We're building
Because you were a new grad at the time.
I was.
Yeah.
I was fresh off from nursing school. Like, I was like, I was a unicorn in a sense. Like, I was bright-eyed. I wanted to conquer the world. I wanted to, do this, do that, full of ideas. And well, this was pretty much a good outlet where I was able to get those ideas out.
Fantastic.
And so she was like, okay, let's do this. And I was like, okay, cool, sign me up. What do we do? And so we pretty much started from there. We went to I think it was the first symposium together in New Orleans. It was like pretty much eye-opening, seeing like a whole bunch of individuals, like-minded individuals who wanted to, to elevate nursing, not just nursing in general, but cardiac nursing. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh my gosh, you're just like full of emotions. And so that was pretty much the start of this. And then we just started doing our events, one in the spring, one in the fall, and pretty much getting everything situated. We spent time together. We kind of love each other. We kind of hate each other. It's 50-50 sometimes. So, and on top of that, we also made it a prerogative for our group to kind of give back to the community, try to reach out to the community. And so me as the community chair did my part in trying to establish networks and collaborations with organizations within Las Vegas to kind of help get our name out. We kind of had to market ourselves in a little bit, as well as give back to the community. And that's pretty much where all of my passions coincide into what is the Southern Nevada PCNA
huge part
chapter.
of what we do. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And for each chapter, your area, your region, your neighborhood, your healthcare community is going to be different. So what I hope our listeners and those people watching us will take away from today is maybe some pearls, some clinical pearls, some wisdom that they might be able to apply. So if you're in a small remote area, if your chapter, for example, is a more rural setting, then maybe you won't have quite as many resources right at your fingertips, but I think you'll be surprised by how many people are willing to help out and willing to partner with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then even us being in the city, we do get a lot of people that come from neighboring counties. I can remember we had this one lady that was, I think, from Pahrump, which is a little outskirts out of the city, and she would kind of come to the events just to kind of learn and take back to her community, because unfortunately her community, is a much older population, and unfortunately they are not, computer savvy where they would able to do, telehealth.
Food desert. That's what she was saying.
She said that she's a completely food desert, that they have, a bunch of fast food, and being cardiac nurses, fast food is not your best friend, it's your enemy, but McDonald's here and there ain't that bad, You got moderation. Moderation's the key.
You had fried onion rings last night with my salad.
That is true.
So Kay, I heard when we were first starting our discussion today that you really wanted to know the time commitment up front. So what does that look like? And I realize it varies from month to month, season to season, but what kind of time commitment do you individually put into this project as a PCNA
I feel like
leader?
very bare minimum.
Okay.
As much as I possibly can do, let's make everything as efficient and concise as possible.
Okay.
I think as a group, we try to meet at least quarterly.
Okay.
But then when we have like our spring and fall events happening, we progressively get more and more. And then we'll meet like about once every week or once every 2 weeks, and then until it gets closer, until the event happens.
And are these virtual meetings? Do you meet in person?
We do both.
Okay.
We do both. We try to do Teams meetings, Skype, Zoom. Sometimes we'll just be on iPhones and do video calls. Depending on what's happening. Like I just had a baby, so then everyone came over, and that was like, my baby's part of the meeting now because I can't do anything.
The youngest chapter person, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
for sure. And then, I don't know, we just make it work. Sometimes we make it fun, but then we learn we can't hear anything and we get distracted. It's fine.
It does happen. So you were talking about community events where you've been talking about the spring and fall kind of programs that are open to the community. You don't have to be a PCNA member to attend these events. What's the style like for you all? Some chapters have weeknight, and they offer one CE, and if there's a commercial or product theater kind of thing with that, they do it like in a weekday evening. Others stack together 3 CE programs and a product theater on a Saturday, so more people can come, they get more CE contact hours. What's been working for your chapter?
For us, it's been a hit and miss kind of trial error kind of thing. We did start, big in the beginning with the 3 CEUs and stuff, and then at top of that, we were trying to get sponsors and all that stuff, and so it was a kind of a little bit of a hassle because you had to do the 3 CEs plus, the Q&As plus the sponsor.
It took a very long time. The feedback from our audience at that time was like, make it shorter.
Make it shorter. Okay. Don't drag it on too long.
Yeah, and so we've kind of taken the feedback from every event and it did what they asked.
Great. I have one more question for this duo, and that is, how are you able to convince other people to come and present for you? Because oftentimes what you're getting is you're getting a slide deck from the PCNA office and you're trying to find a local speaker. So what does that process look like for your chapter?
So far we haven't had any issues as of yet, but we as of yet, knock on wood, knock on wood, knock on wood. Please help us. So we've been fortunate enough to know individuals. We've had doctors, we've had
nurse practitioners
that we're close with. We have a close relationship with, who are very
open to teaching. They want nurses to know more and do better.
Correct.
And I will say that of our previous relationships, they've also our previous presenters have said I have a friend that wants to also teach, or I can ask my group, and so we have luckily a bank
Yes,
and we could always reach out to if need be, and we try to keep those relationships like open.
And then by word of mouth too, as well too. Like they're like, oh, I did this and stuff for so and so. Like here, hit this person up, give them a call, you know. Or I can't do it because I don't have the time for it, but I know a friend who's willing to do it. And so yeah, we reach out. We kind of be like, hey, we introduce ourselves, we introduce our mission, our purpose, and what we want to hopefully accomplish with that event.
Great. So before I let the two of you go, I know one of the things that your chapter does really well, and that you spoke about a little bit earlier, was that actually being involved in the community. And how does that look for your particular chapter?
Well, we've done it all. We've done food distribution. We've done we've done farm work at a community garden. We've gotten our hands dirty. We've done everything. We've chaperoned. Dances,
the Halloween dance. That was so much fun.
That was so much fun. We've helped the American Heart Association. Like we have a close relationship with Nicole. Nicole, if you're seeing this, hearts to you too, with the American Heart Association over in Las Vegas. And so she kind of reaches out like, hey, I have this. Do you guys want to help? I'm like, sure, let's do this. As well
David
as
got to speak at the consulate.
The Mexican consulate. Thanks to the Reach organization. So Luis, if you're watching this, you're the homie. So we speak to the Mexican consulate as well as the consulate of El Salvador to kind of help reach the uninsured and underinsured population as well.
Fantastic. I do have one more question for each of you, and that is, what one takeaway would you offer to the audience in terms of being a successful chapter? What do you think is kind of the most core thing that you need to do to be a success? And again, I understand that every chapter is different, so what works for in Las Vegas may not work wherever our listeners are, but what do you think?
Have fun. I think you have to have fun.
Yes.
It's when everyone is a little too serious. It's like, we're just here to do good things, and we're here to introduce you to new people, and we want you to share that with other people, and it shouldn't be like, hey, we have something serious to talk to you about. And then if you say that to me, I would shut down. I would fall asleep. So have fun.
Have fun, be humbled, and just be humbled.
Be humbled, okay. Thank you both so very much for being here.
Thank you.
And I don't want our audience to go away. We're going to take a really brief break, and we will be back with even more information about what it takes to have a great chapter. Thanks so much.
For more education, resources, and tools for your clinical practice, visit PCNA.net. You'll find CE courses, patient handouts, and more, all free to access. Visit PCNA.net.
I'd like to welcome our audience back to today's episode, where we're talking about chapter programs and PCNA. And we have a new guest after the break, as you might recognize. And Charli, could you introduce yourself to us, please?
Hi, I'm Charli Saxton. I'm another one of the Southern Nevada chapter leaders. We work together, but separately now at this point. So I work at 2 different facilities. I work med-tele, like post-cath ablation watchman, and then I work ICU at another facility. So it's kind of good to be able to see both sides.
I think one of the other things that is a great opportunity for you all as you've started to work in different organizations, as you see how things operate differently wherever it is that you work, and then you can bring that back to the group and kind of share that, can't you?
It's great, definitely, to be able to see what's working in one facility and what's not working in another, but also, oh, I had this patient and we did this, whatever procedure that looks like, and then this is what we're trending now, and then to be able to identify like this was an area of need, like, or whatever that looks like. So the more people you connect with, they're like, oh, I have this friend, they're working on this project. Or when we went to the AHA walk, we kind of networked with that community a little bit, and that's where we started like building more relationships for our volunteer work that we do.
That's great. And I think nursing overall is simultaneously a group effort and an individual effort. And sometimes it's hard when you're in that individual moment, getting the job done, dealing with all the things that happen, to forget that there's a whole group of people that are out here ready to support you if you just ask. And if you're new to nursing, like many of you have been recently, I think sometimes the challenge is finding out who to go to for questions. So do you have any ideas that you could share with the audience? And it could be get involved with a PCNA chapter, but that does not have to be the answer at all.
I think as a bedside nurse, I take a lot of pride in not needing help, which is like my weakness, because I will be the first to tell you if I ask for help, something terrible is happening. So as a bedside nurse, like if I have to call one of my friends to be like, I need help, you better come running because it could be bad, whatever's happening. So I think you grow more as a nurse the more you realize that it's not your failure as a nurse, it's you're needing more resources. You're needing more resources. So I think as we become more experienced as a nurse, you start to learn it's not, in our facilities that we all work in, you could have 6 or 7 med-tele patients, and those patients are very sick. And as we've learned here at the conference, like not only do they have cardiac disease, kidney disease, they have every disease process that you're going to run into, and cardiac patients take hard and fast, so you're going to need to be prepared. And I think we have grown more and more, and then through PCNA and through different nursing organizations we're a part of, like it just kind of helps you understand, like, we are a team. You are by yourself at the bedside, but the second you start saying, like, I need help, or, I think this patient might need this consult, or, whatever that looks like, to start building your team for your patient, it grows just like a massive wildfire and really provides the best care for your patients, which is why we're here. So I think growing as a nurse becomes a big part of that, and understanding it's not a weakness, it is you're doing what's right. And sometimes in the nursing community, we feel like you don't want to ask for help because, like, why aren't you able to do it? Like, you should be able to do this, you should be able to do this. We're told from when you graduate, like, you got this, you're going to be able to take care of however many patients now, you're strong, you got this. So when you need help, it feels like I should be able to do this, and that's not necessarily the case because these patients are very sick. So I think growing your network and growing who you can trust and kind of building those relationships is important, and then we lean on each other, which I think is vastly important. So I don't know if that answers.
No, it did. I think one of the other considerations for individuals who are thinking about participating in a chapter program or starting a chapter is that nobody comes out of nursing school with a degree in cardiovascular nursing. And so what you just described is, yes, I had a certain skill set, I've got a knowledge base, I'm confident, but I don't know everything. And so that's why it's important to continue to learn along the way.
100%. I'm a strong believer, and nurses have to be lifelong learners because medicine changes ever so fast. And being in a hospital setting, you could come, so I work, 3 days, and then I go to a different facility, and then I come back, and it could be, 10 days later that I'm back. You know how much has changed? It could be nothing, it could be 10 things. You don't know what you're walking into. So I think it's vastly important to be a lifelong learner and be able to grow and develop yourself, but also like your nursing expertise, because it is wildly changing. And even like being at the conference here, like we have learned so much in the last 10 years of medicine, let alone like what's coming. And when you go to a conference and you're able to see like, oh, these great things are coming. Like we've talked to a lot of the different device reps and seen all of the devices that are coming down the pike, and it's great to like learn about all these new things. And there's been a lot of talk about amyloidosis, and they're going to talk about it at our event that's coming up. And so we were like, oh, this is great because we don't know a lot about that. Like we don't, as inpatient nurses, we don't see a lot of that, and it's coming down the pike. So it was triggering us like, oh, I wonder if these patients that we're not finding anything, we're wondering like, oh, maybe they have, something else going on, and we're wondering, are they following up in the clinic? So it triggered us all to think like, oh, we should ask them like when they get discharged in the clinic, because we have those relationships with our providers now. Like, are you guys following up on, like, okay, well, you had this unstable angina, or you had this NSTEMI, but we didn't identify an issue. Like, what is the follow-up after that? And like, where are we going from there? Because that's a big piece of discharge education where people are like, well, what happens now? Like, well, you're going to follow up in the clinic and it's going to be great. But we don't know because we're not in the clinic. So I think that is something that we want to build, is like a stronger relationship with our cardiac clinics as well, because it would be great to be able to be like, oh, so-and-so in the clinic, they're going to be great. We've had great relationships with them. They're going to help you kind of grow into your next steps as a cardiovascular patient.
That's awesome. So as we've talked about, a lot of the information that your chapter shares comes through these spring and fall programs. How do people learn about these learning opportunities about amyloidosis or whatever the topic is?
So our spring and fall event, we decided right out the gate that we were going to make an Instagram page, because that is the way that our nursing community functions a lot, is through social media and like building those connections, networking, however you want to look at it. So we built our own PCNA page for our chapter, and then we post like, hey, we have this upcoming event, more and more and more as we get closer to our event. But we also are really incredibly lucky to be able to advertise our events in our hospitals. So we all started at a big hospital in Las Vegas, but then now we have like kind of disseminated out a little bit. So it's great because we work in other facilities, so we can say, hey, through that facility's education department, we can say, hey, we have this event coming up. You don't have to be a cardiac nurse. You don't have to be a nurse at all, but also like we can widen our network like that. So working for different hospital systems or working through the connections that we've made, we've been able to like kind of bridge out a little bit more, because we started with our original event in our hospital and then have kind of spread out a little bit. So we've gone to different hospitals now, and then this time we're actually doing an out-of-facility event. So this is our first non-hospital event. We're super excited because we chose a facility that has physical activity involved. So we're going to do our event, but also have some physical activity, because a big thing is when you go to a conference or you go to a speaking event, then you're sitting for a long time, and that's difficult for some of us.
Well, that's a great model to consider for other chapters that are thinking about what to do in terms of where to host an event and those kinds of things. So that's a great idea. I know that your chapter is relying on the expertise of the people that we've seen and some others to be the leadership team. And in any organization, it's important to look at who, in this case, is next in terms of developing that leadership ladder. So I didn't know if you had identified a strategy for replacing yourselves eventually when when things need to transition for whatever reason. Not that you are not doing an exceptional job. Please don't take it that way. We want you never to leave. But should you need to leave, what would that look like for your chapter?
I definitely think like in this season of life, we're all growing. And as we said, like we're all at different facilities, which can be tricky to coordinate our schedules or even coordinate an event, because, some people work 5 days a week, some people work 3 days a week, some people work 6 days a week. It just depends on what your life season looks like. So I definitely think that is a huge challenge for people in organizations baseline, but we are trying to establish what the next steps will look like. And we love each other, and we're the first to be like, guys, this is a lot for me right now, and I'm going to need to pull back a little bit. And I think the best part about our chapter is we know each other and we read each other relatively well. So we can be like, oh, they're struggling. We're going to just kind of take that piece, or this isn't working well. What can I do to help you, kind of thing. But moving forward with trying to identify like who we could grow up with us, I think is challenging, and getting people to commit is challenging, but we are working to identify people who want to grow as nurses and understand it is a commitment, but it's more of a commitment to ourselves than it is like a vast time commitment, because like Kay said, we meet quarterly, but then like we'll be like, hey, we're going to do this volunteer. We are not arranging our own volunteer events at this point. We're just kind of supporting other people who already have things set up. So I think that alleviates some of the time commitment pressure. The only things that we're self-growing right now is our spring and fall event. So that when people understand it's not a 12 hours a month period, we could do an hour of volunteering or 2 hours like in one each month. And that's your commitment. And then we, kind of move forward. And we, this year, have kind of blocked out I think in December or November, we said this is the quarter breakdown. We're going to do the symposium. We're going to do our spring and fall event. We wanted to do, I can't even think of the other things that we've set, but we've set some other like core things that we were like, this is what we want to accomplish. We wanted to go to the garden. We did that. And so identifying that really early kind of eliminates the like stress of, oh my gosh, we haven't done anything, or like our time commitment restraint. And so I think as more people are seeing that, like, oh, you know, the more people we are able to kind of pull into our events, they ask like, oh, what does this take? Or, you know, asking and kind of making those connections, I think is how we build our brand, but also kind of grow our PCNA chapter itself. And then people are more willing to be like, oh, I could take that piece, you know, I have some room in my life, I could take that little slice of your pie. So I think that's been helpful for us. And then we work in a massive facility, so we have a lot of people coming and going, but also we have a massive new grad program. And I think that, you know, like 6 months in, our new grads are really struggling, and so it kind of gives them an outlet to be like, oh, like maybe getting some outside experience or getting some additional feedback on like where my nursing can grow, I think has been helpful for people. This will help you in getting that outlet of like getting your nursing fire back, because it can be really difficult.
Mm-hmm. And I know I asked the other guests, and I'm going to ask you, what's one key takeaway that you would provide to our audience in terms of what makes a successful chapter?
I think doing it with people that you enjoy, like camaraderie is important. So first, we are all friends. We were coworkers, but we're all friends. And doing something that can be challenging is a lot easier when you have people that I'm like, I don't know anything about that. I'll be the first one to tell you that's not my wheelhouse. Like, there's a lot of things I know, but I don't communicate well normally with people that I don't know. And I'm very like, that's not me. So I can do these things, and knowing your own skills. So I think having fun with people, but also doing organizational work with people that you're comfortable with is wickedly important.
Awesome. Well, thank you so very much for being here, and thanks to our other guests as well. This is Geraldine Warfield, your host, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Heart to Heart Nurses. We invite you to visit pcna.net for clinical resources, continuing education, and much more.